Hey man, it's what, Thursday? Happy Thursday, everybody. Are you ready for some football? We got football back today, baby. You see, I'm repping the Birds, Rise Up, Dion, all of that. But anyways, man, I have a special guest today, my guy Parlay Pete. But before I get to my guest, oh shit, I got to introduce myself. Hey, it's the Big Baby. And I'm back, and we're going to talk about a little white privilege, a little NBA, a little NFL, and gambling. So, white privilege, white card. Why use a bank card when you can use your white card? White card. White card. You don't need no bank card when you got a white card, right? That can get you in any door that you want to get in. So I'm saying that because Steve Nash was recently hired as the coach of the Nets. And Stephen A jumped out and said, it's white privilege. And initially I'm like, no, I don't think that's white privilege. I think that's another point guard, another Hall of Fame player getting an opportunity to coach a team. And this happened. And you don't even have to be a Hall of Fame player all the time to get jobs. I mean, you have people like Doc Rivers, no experience, who got a job. Mark Jackson, no experience, who got a job. Steve Kerr, no coaching experience, who got a job. Those are just a few off the top of my head. Derek Fisher was one of the top 10 highest paid coaches coming out of the NBA into a coaching job with no bench experience, okay? So this isn't a rare occurrence. But then he caveated it by saying that it's white privilege because he was able to walk into a ready-made team, and black coaches don't get that opportunity. Question for you. How many coaches get to walk into a ready-made team? Very few. The last coach that I remember to walk into a ready-made team, 2016, Ty Lue. But he paid his dues as an assistant coach. Some could say that Steve Kerr walked into a ready-made team with the 2015 Warriors, who were prepped by a black man who did not get the opportunity to win a championship. But if you look at them, their offense changed dramatically. Draymond entered the starting lineup, not David Lee. And that's probably why they jumped over everyone else and became the Warriors that we know today. But we have to pick and choose our times when we want to use the race card because, see, the race card is not as strong as the white card. But see, the race card can get you in the door sometimes. It can get a conversation started. Sometimes the race card scares people. But you don't want to be the man who cried race all the time. Because guess what? When there's a problem, when you actually need to use your race card, it can get declined. So I'm bringing in my special guest, Parlay Pete, baby. What's happening?
What's going on, Lee? How we doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm happy to have you back on the pod. Luckily, this time we can see you. We don't have Josh in the background ruin it by playing The Weeknd.
Pretty much. That's the best way to put it. And let me tell you, it is, it's not a white privilege, but it's definitely a privilege to be on the Big Baby podcast again. I'm really excited about this, and I'm ready to get it going.
So when Stephen A. Smith came out and said it was a white privilege that got Steve Nash the job, man, what did you think?
My initial reaction was he's trying to use this as a vessel, especially with what is going on right now, to further push an agenda on this type of stuff. And, with the NBA, of course, being probably the most predominantly black league of any sports league in the world, and him being on such a prominent stage, arguably the most popular sports talk show, if not most popular, definitely top three, and being definitely the highest paid probably ESPN pundit, it's easy for him to have that voice, and he knows that it's going to make headlines. So my thought was, kind of a hot take to begin with. He didn't really think about it. It just was more of one of those things of, another example of us not getting these type of opportunities, even though it has happened, as you stated kind of in the intro. This stuff has happened before where there's been a black coach that has no experience. And the one thing that is true about all of it is that they all have long NBA careers for everybody, black or white, that's gotten these jobs without any coaching experience.
And for me, it happened last week where you have Scottie Pippen versus Richard Jefferson. You got Stephen A. Then you got Jay Williams versus Stephen A. Jay Williams versus LeBron. I'm like, it seems like it's just ESPN fratricide. Like, it's just, hey, let's have some ESPN on ESPN violence to really drive our ratings, right? I thought that it was a ratings push because I don't trust anything that comes out of Bristol.
Yeah, it's a headline. I mean, it's a headline. That's literally the first thing that you see. If you notice, if you ever get on ESPN.com, they'll have the headlines on the right, like the writing headlines. Then they'll have, if a game's on, it'll be kind of the main screen. Then you just scroll down one level, and it'll generally be the shows and takes, and they'll have these outrageous, what would you call them, thumbnails of these guys' faces along with the headline. So, like, in that situation, it would have been
Stephen A. looking like this.
Yeah, right. And then it's I can curse on this, right? Yeah. No?
Yeah.
All right, fuck it. So, all right. Then it'll be Max Kellerman like it'll be some crazy shit. And it'll be, the headline will read Steve Nash, a member of white privilege in the NBA. Like, you know what I mean? It'll just be something crazy, and it'll be a 2-minute clip, and it'll be Stephen A. yelling at Max, and Max trying to say, whoa. Like, that's pretty much their gambit in life at this point. And, I guess whatever it takes, because like we've noticed on their Instagram or Twitter or whatever they put stuff out, it was pretty dry during the pandemic. During this,
I hope they fired the intern who was running it. It was terrible.
Well, shit, I would hope that it wasn't an intern running it. At that point, if you're in a pandemic, you don't have time to have an intern. Like, so I don't think that Stephen A. meant necessarily any harm, but I just think that he was further pushing a narrative that's been pretty popular the last 2, 3, 4 months.
Yeah, so, and I think that he has a point that there is an extreme amount of white privilege that goes into coaching and coaching hires. Because if you look at the number of black coaches versus black players, white coaches versus white players, it doesn't really make sense. And even looking at former player coaches, I saw that like Nick Wright did some weird statistical analysis that's like if you were to randomly select coaches, like just the disparity that we have between black and white just wouldn't exist just in a random variation. So I get that. But I think we have to be careful when we want to use our race card, because just like any card, if you use it too much, eventually it's going to decline.
That's true. That's
and
true.
You don't want your card to decline when you are actually trying to make a purchase, right? So I look at Indiana, which is a franchise that doesn't drive any ratings, that people don't really care about. Victor Oladipo wants out, and no one's talking about it. They overachieved this past year by not having Vic playing the whole year. Malcolm Brogdon was overpaid, and the emergence of Sabonis, and they fired Nate McMillan, who overachieved the last 2 years.
He did. And, I was surprised definitely that he got fired. I think that the biggest thing is with his firing was more of the 1-year extension that they gave him, which is basically, I don't know if that was in a weird way. They knew no matter how the series went that was going to be like a severance package or what, but them giving him that 1-year extension to me locked him up no matter what happened in that series for him to keep his job. And, they did have a very poor showing. And once we get to the gambling, I'll just talk about how bad it was. But they did have a poor showing. Now, like you said, Sabonis. There was no Sabonis. That's an all-star this year. They're missing him. Vic still had not gotten back. He wasn't 100% in reality. I mean, he didn't play, but he wasn't 100%. And I think everybody that watched knew that. And TJ Warren,
play either.
TJ Warren, I get it, was first team all bubble. damn near behind Booker and Lillard, probably the third best player in the bubble by the numbers. But at the same time, they were overmatched. And ultimately Miami is showing that with how they dispatched Milwaukee. So I don't think that they waited, long enough to even make that type of decision, even with the poor showing in the playoffs. I just, this is it's a pandemic year. So of course the best team truly is going to win because there is no home court advantage. And I thought that Indiana definitely should have got one game, but you're also talking about a guy that has, exited the first round every year that he's made it. And so maybe they just felt like there was no growth.
But for me, I think you have to be real with yourself and the type of team you're going to be, right? Do we see Indiana as more than a first-round exit team or a second-round swept team?
You were a lot higher on Miami than I was.
That's in Miami. I mean Indiana.
No. I'm just bringing that up in a sense of I thought that Indiana could have won the series coming into it. Yeah, honestly, I really did. But you were high on Miami. I mean, you predicted it. And so I'll give you that. You said it wouldn't surprise me if Miami at least makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And obviously now you two think that they can make it to the finals. And so
I mean, my money says they're in the finals with the Lakers.
Okay, little Spo LeBron reunion, huh?
Oh, exactly. Because I think it's all about storylines.
Yeah. You got Pat. You got the fucking mob boss and Pat Riley. Yeah. You know the way that he sits up there is so ridiculous. But I get it. It's Pat Riley.
He can do that.
Story about Pat Riley. We used to have Hawk season tickets. Pat Riley and his wife sat in front of us for a playoff game when the Heat played the Hawks. It was unbelievable.
Did you speak to him?
No, we knew who it was. And the thing is, my mom, my mom's she was a big basketball fan too. And of course, we all knew who it was. This was when Stan Van Gundy was the coach. So this is before they even won the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And No. This was not them. This is when Spo was the coach. This is okay. Pat Riley. My mistake. Because definitely I'm looking at the years. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Spo was the coach, but I think it was like Spo's first couple years or whatever. And no, we didn't say anything, but that, most people don't want to be those people though. And it's like, there's only but so much I could say to Pat other than, I'm a 12-year-old, 13-year-old. Hey, can I get a picture? And I've never wanted to be that guy as a kid or as an adult. So,
bro, I have too much pride for that. Like, I'm not going to be the guy who's like, hey, can I get a picture? Like, I remember one year my mom came for Founders Week. How they have the different people for the candle in the dark and all that extra shit. She probably doesn't want me to tell the story, but oh well. Morgan Freeman was there, and she ended up getting a picture with him, and she was so upset that I didn't want to go up there and take a picture. And I'm like, Mom, we see famous people on campus all the time. For one,
yeah, very.
It's nothing new, and two, I'm a man. I can't be no groupie.
Well, especially at that age, like I said, it's one thing to be. There's a cutoff for that type of stuff, and once you get to honestly, really about 16, 15, even. You should stop doing that type of stuff. And even same for the athletes, long time lifer, Falcon season ticket holder. And we used to sit on the second row where the Falcons came in and out. So over the years, I've gotten plenty of gloves. We've gotten jerseys, D'Angelo Hall, helmet, jersey. Justin's got Terrence Mathis's jersey one year.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've gotten everything. I mean, everything you can think of, literally gloves from work. I mean, everybody. I can't. How can I don't have something that I've gotten as a kid? And so Michael Vick, whether it's his little quarterback towel, because he didn't really wear that much stuff, but Mike Vick's, we've gotten that. You know what I mean? And so at a certain age, you start getting too old and too big for that shit. And so, and same thing with the athletes. They're gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, man, this nigga looks too old. And
Ronald, why are you groupie right now?
It'll be grown men there, like it's goddamn Monday Night Raw or something, going crazy over another grown man. I can't do that. It's just not my style. If I run into them at a bar randomly or something, I might say something, But outside of that, I'm definitely not asking for a picture. But
no, you have like the best famous people look though.
Yeah,
you run into a lot of people in bars and lobbies of condos. Like you run into
where I live though too. Like some of that stuff was where I was living. So like, you know, it's been quite a few different encounters. Like I tell you what, as a kid, one of the top ones was Drake. Me and Justice got pictures with Drake at a Hawks game, and he was standing there by himself. Now this was So Far Gone Drake. So this was like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, nobody knew him by name.
Yeah, no, he wasn't as popular. He definitely wasn't Drake yet. But we knew who he was because we, you know, we heard his shit. So like we knew who Drake was, but So Far Gone was out when we met him. And so it's luck of the Irish, I guess.
You know his best song was on So Far Gone. November 18th, the best song he's ever made.
Well, of course, for you, yeah, because it's the easy thing for you to say for your birthday. But
hey, and that's the NBA draft, and I'm gonna make some money that day.
Yeah. They just
so let me get back to this coaching thing, right? Because I've been wanting to go on a podcast and talk about the reasons why Mark Jackson should never, ever, ever, ever get another coaching job in the NBA again. He did well for the Warriors, don't get me wrong. But he almost traded Steph. It almost happened for Bogut.
During that whole Monte Ellis thing.
He chose Monte.
Who's going to be our guy going forward?
Right, like this shouldn't be a question. He threw Steph in the corner and said, okay, yeah, you can just catch and shoot corner threes. We don't need you on the plane shooting off the ball, shooting all the threes. Not all this shooting that you can do really well. We don't need you to do this. And at the time, he wasn't terribly wrong for the way that the league was played. But the fact that we're 5, 6, 7 years removed from that, and he's now a commentator, and his game and his analysis has not adapted to today's game. It's like, Mark Jackson, you are auditioning for a coaching job every time you call a game. A lot of these guys, they get to disappear. Yeah, they're not getting paid, but they get to disappear and do whatever. Or they get to disappear and be an assistant coach. You are on national TV multiple days a week giving us piss-poor analysis, letting us know that, bro, I don't even think you, have heard of analytics at all. And not that I believe in analytics to a T, because I don't. I think that's crazy. But to just not say, hey, this right here is a smart shot, even though they missed it. This right here is a bad shot, even though they made it. Like not understand where the game is moving. It's like, dude, I would not hire you.
And we kind of spoke about this, in the locker room a little bit, but I think that he does deserve one more shot. I don't see why he doesn't. And I say that not because of his coaching style, but more so because his resume and record shows and should say, I deserve another chance. I mean, I'd have to bring it up, I guess, but he was there for 5 years, maybe 4, 6.
He has a positive coaching record. Like if you're going off of that, he deserves a job.
Exactly. And so the point is, and like you said, he's a national pundit. He calls the games for ESPN and ABC. So it's one of those things where now you see him almost every week. And why is it that he wouldn't get another chance with the record that he does have, the resume, and instead of giving Randy Whitman, you know what I mean? These guys, these retreads in the league, constantly getting jobs, basically, white or black too,
I don't think he wants a job because he gets paid really well by ESPN and ABC to do that job. And if he removes himself from that seat, someone else better might get there, and then he may never
get it back when he loses his job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he and Van Gundy are the absolute worst. And I think they're holding on to their jobs because ESPN barely cares about good commentary on their game just because they have the rights to everything.
Yeah, and it's a similar situation. I mean, I hate to say it with Gruden, but that's what was happening on Monday Night Football too. He was going to wait until he got to cash out. And granted, he's a Super Bowl winning coach, so that's a little different. But he also is a product of a black man's built team with Tony Dungy. And so he was pretty mediocre outside of that Super Bowl year. I mean, the Tampa 2, which isn't even his, it's Lovie Smith's. The Tampa 2 defense definitely gave Michael Vick fits. I remember watching that shit all too well. But outside of that, I mean, he was pretty mediocre. I mean, yeah, he was supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, and look who was quarterbacking for him. It was Chris Sims. On his last leg, Jeff Garcia. I mean, these were the guys.
And Sean, like, he had terrible quarterback play, and look at what Carr's doing. Carr played his best under Jack Del Rio.
That's true too, and it sucks for him because he just hasn't been the same after that injury. That year they were really good, and he did look good, but they, I think that this year for sure he's got to do something new. And granted, the pandemic is going to buy a lot of people time, I think, except Dan Quinn, and we'll get into the Falcons a little bit later. But I think that he's got to get ready to put up or shut up. Is this year 3? It's year 3, right?
For Gruden, yeah.
Year 3.
Gruden's fine, though. He got $100 million. So, like, if you fire him, you still got to pay him.
Yeah, I know. And that's why he left that seat. But which was my point, even with Mark and Jeff Van Gundy. Those guys are going to wait until they get to cash in. And if they ever do even get a head coaching offer, they're going to wait to cash in. They're not going to leave that cushy seat. I don't know how much they make, but I would imagine it's got to be upwards close to $5 million plus. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they're making coach salary.
Yeah, they're making good money doing that. And we've gotten so used to hearing him, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, and Mike Breen together to where now they're the voices of the NBA during the finals. And I know that they just announced Doris Burke was going to be a part of the telecast, and she was going to call games. First time in history that we're going to have a woman in the Western, Eastern, or I guess whatever. I guess they're still switching between the networks. I know the East and West used to be TNT and then ESPN, but definitely the finals we know is going to be on ABC. And so it'll be the first time that they've ever had a woman doing that. And so, these guys, they've got only but so much time that they can continue to do this stuff before they get pushed out just because of something like that. But they're still going to wait on that cushy job before they
Absolutely. Before we go fully deep in the NBA, can we celebrate that we don't have to hear Booger's disgusting voice on Monday Night Football this year?
Yeah. And let me tell you, Booger gets a bad rap because the shit he says makes no sense. But in terms of a personality, I enjoy Booger as a personality. You know what I mean? He's this happy-go-lucky, Zion Williams 20 years from now guy. And he's LSU. He's basically a New Orleans guy, and
he's a Tampa guy. He played down there with Sapp and Rice.
Yeah, Booger on the line, and he gets a bad rap from that perspective. But yeah, no, he was awful. And
I feel for him because he was the only national black voice in football.
Well, they were playing him by giving him the Booger cam. Because think about it, they moved him from there to up in the booth because they were just like, man, this is a really bad idea to have you riding around down here and, making these comments about nothing.
It just goes back for me. ESPN, they make so much money that they don't really care about commentary. Like, they
make so much money, but that's because they bought every fucking contract that they could. And that's why all the talent's gone, obviously,
because you can't have all the rights and all the the creators. Like, look, I love Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Me too. A lot of people don't like Joe Buck for whatever reason.
A lot of people are stupid.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Joe Buck is fucking amazing.
He's great.
I like Romo and Nance.
CBS is, what's weird too? Telecasts are weird. The picturing is weird. CBS to me has just always been a really old school, boring, and not in terms of the call was good, but I'm talking about in terms of picture
quality.
Yeah, like
that green is a little dull on the field, isn't it?
It does. It doesn't look as good as Fox or NBC or ESPN, even for that matter. It doesn't look.
Yeah, but ESPN doesn't get good games because of Bill Simmons calling out Goodell back in 14, 15.
And I like Bill Simmons too. I think he's one of the best sports writers ever.
Agreed. So, let's get back to the NBA, man. Giannis, my homeboy Duke, shout out to Duke. He calls Giannis Janice now.
Is that a play on? He's a. What's the right way to say this?
I don't know. I can't speak for him. I just found it funny that he calls the man Janice.
It sounds like he's giving him a feminine name a little bit. I don't know. That's just an assumption based on the way you're saying it. But
because if you're country, you might not be able to say Giannis, right? You may say Giannis.
Well, if he called him Giannis before, or he certainly, I know a lot of people don't. Some people just say Greek freak.
I don't say the last name. I took the Kupo.
Right.
So everybody's like, what is Giannis going to do? What is Giannis going to do? I honestly think Giannis is going to stay because he's a Euro. He doesn't have the ties to American basketball culture, American basketball players, American culture. He's a guy who appears to be happy to be here. Oh, I'm a superstar. I'm just happy to be a superstar. The fact that he doesn't say, hey, bud, play me 40 minutes. Hey, bud, nah, Jimmy giving us 30. Nah, I got Jimmy. You know what I mean? He's just like, you know what? I'm going to listen to what my coaches say because they know what's best for me. I'm listening to the GM. They know what's best for me. And because of his humble mentality, I think he stays in Milwaukee and doesn't win championships.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, too. Look at it this way. They have a great organization. You know what I mean? Bud, we know firsthand with Bud. Bud knows what he's doing. Even though, God, he looked so clueless in this past series. He looked clueless even in the Magic series. And that's why I guess it wasn't surprising that you could even call the Heat from a mile away because of just how they looked against the Magic. I mean, it didn't – I'm not even that – I'm mildly at best surprised with the outcome of the series. But it's still a well-ran organization. Bud's big into team ball, which is why I thought, damn, he'll finally thrive with the superstar. This is the one thing that we were missing in Atlanta. If Joe Johnson had been with that team that won 60 games, and I guess this is just super hypothetical, but the lead kind of dog a little bit that Joe Johnson was with those Hawks teams before Bud got there. If Bud had a guy like that could at least just take the last shot, the Hawks could have been pretty – I guess how much more successful could they have been? But
we did get to the Eastern Conference Finals and got our fucking head blown off by the Heat.
They wouldn't have. I think that with the prime type of Joe Johnson type guy on that team, if you take DeMar Carroll off and it was a prime type of Joe Johnson guy, that they wouldn't have gotten swept. Especially think about it. Kyrie played in 2 games. There was no Kevin Love, and granted it's LeBron. That was their best opportunity to make some sort of noise, even just. These guys are not just a one-hit wonder. They're up and coming. Free agents come sign here.
I think that's where Atlanta's getting it wrong. For some odd reason, as a city, we cannot get free agents.
No, the Falcons are the best at doing it, and we generally get them when they're past done. Knock on wood, because Todd Gurley's not going to be that. But we get the guys when they're past their prime.
And my thing is, I'm like, yo, look, it's cheap to live here. Everything you want is here.
Women galore.
Women.
Party life.
We got QC.
Right.
Quavo, Gucci Man.
You'll be in every rap video that you want to be in.
Michael Vick gave y'all the blueprint.
Quavo, hell, Boosie, just about everybody in the entertainment industry does live here. Ross, these guys live here. And so and not to mention it's a Black Hollywood. This is Black Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, baby. Fuck Black Hollywood. It's Hollywood. I'd rather be in Atlanta than LA. I hate LA.
I don't hate LA, but go ahead. I got you on that. Hey, we still landlocked. We ain't got no beach or mountains within proximity, that close of proximity.
Fair, but yeah, so I think Giannis is going to stay. I think Giannis is also overrated. I think Giannis falls into the Houston boat, just regular season. When people aren't game planning for you, you're so good at what you do that you would do it really well. And in mass, it's going to succeed. But once somebody decides to focus on you, bro, you got to develop a 14-foot jumper.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. He's got to go to work this summer. Or, damn it, we're past it now. But he's got to go to work this fall. He's going to have to improve his game. And the greats always do. LeBron is a prime example of that. People forget, even though LeBron had all the expectation in the world, LeBron still isn't a very good free throw shooter. Let's start there. But secondly,
it's poor.
But he's improved. I'm just saying he's improved. He's definitely way better than he used to be. But LeBron developed the 3-point shot. LeBron used to couldn't shoot the ball. And being the Kobe fan that I am, I always pointed that out to everybody that gave me this Kobe LeBron thing. And this is before LeBron won a title. People were saying LeBron was better than Kobe, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I could not believe that shit. I really couldn't. Like, it's just like, golly, is everybody doing drugs that I can't get a hold of or something? I don't know, but he definitely wasn't. He wasn't that guy when people were saying he was that guy. Now he's that guy, but he every offseason he added something to his game and then improved. He got stronger in even his strengths. You know what I mean? Giannis has got to do that this fall before the season starts, whenever it starts. I guess my hope is maybe Christmas Day will be opening day.
I saw today, I meant to send it to the locker room, but it's no earlier than Christmas Day. And they're going to start Christmas Day. They're not going to allow
miss out on that day.
They can't miss out on that game because the finals are going to take such a hit because football is going to be on.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. People are still going to tune in, though.
I know, but it's still.
I think people are just tired of the antics with the NBA more than anything.
Hey, but look, I think we're going to have fans at NBA games next year, though.
Agreed. I think that potentially with football, we're going to eventually have fans. I know that like tonight, there's going to be 16,000 at Arrowhead for the opener. I think that we won't have a full stadium, but I think that outside of the teams that have already said we're not having fans all season, that at some point, maybe after Thanksgiving, we're going to be able to start seeing that same number for every team that hasn't already called off the dog.
You're saying after Thanksgiving being nice. I'm saying after the second week of November.
Maybe right. Well, maybe after Halloween. But that's going to be the scary part. People are going to be coughing and sneezing, and because natural. It's colder outside, and that's just what happens. And everybody's going to be very weary of that. Like, matter of fact, even with the Chiefs game tonight, not to get too far off topic, but that they still have tickets to sell for this game because I'm going to assume even in a place like Kansas City, this is historic. You won your Super Bowl after 50 years since your last one. And you got arguably the best player for the next 10 years on your team for sure. And, there are still plenty of tickets that are being sold. Suite tickets that are generally $1,200 are going for $500 and $600. And so that's what we don't know. We just don't know how is the world trying to react to this in terms of slowing it down. Everybody wants to be responsible because we all know people that can be affected. But at the same time, what means more to us? And I think that there's going to be people that are diehard football fans like myself. As soon as the Falcons say I can come, I'll be there. You know what I mean? And it's just I know we're putting a lot of pause on that.
If the sky wasn't orange outside and they open up Levi Stadium for the Niners game, I don't even like the Niners. Guess who's going to be there?
That guy.
Just because. It's like, I need to be around the people. I need to watch some ball.
Yeah. It's just and just this it's so weird even that today is the season opener, that football has started now. It's a weird thing because there was no build up with, we had the draft and the free agency and everything. Everybody was still going crazy, even though it was the start of the pandemic. It's just weird. It feels like it's falling a little flat with the start of the season just because there's so much that's unknown. And knowing that it's going to be a little watered down just because there aren't any fans. And I expect some sloppy play. Like I expect at least 4 to 5 big plays today. Like easy.
I'm taking points this week. But we'll get into that later.
Shit.
Do you really want to talk any more basketball? Because we can just talk football and gambling for the rest of the time.
Let's close out the basketball thing with Giannis.
All right.
Giannis My prediction.
Okay.
Bucks have two options. They either need to trade him, because if not, if it doesn't work out next year, it's going to be a gamble that doesn't pay off and he won't return if it doesn't work out. Or they're going to keep him and they need to surround him. And I think I already brought this up in the locker room, but, Chris Paul is the prime candidate to go to a place with Bud's system. He'd work out really well. It's just a matter of what do they want. They already got rid of Billy Donovan, or they didn't get rid of him. They mutually parted. So that's not going to work. So the question is with the Thunder, let's say they hire Mo Cheeks or they just bring in a new guy, just a coach that's with no experience. They were hoping to rebuild anyways.
Yeah, and I think that's why Billy Donovan left.
Yeah, they have all that draft
ammunition. I'm not doing a tank job.
Yeah, all that draft ammunition that they got, and then Lou Dortz, he looked good. He actually looked good. Like for an undrafted dude, bro, he's going to be playing next year. He looked great defensively. He had a big game in Game 7. He had like 30 points. Like he looked good. That's promising. You got Shea, you got Dennis. Dennis is still young, even though he's been around kind of, it seems like a minute, but Dennis is still a young dude too. And so it's just going to be a matter of Chris Paul didn't really want to be there to begin with, but he made the best of the situation and they looked good in the process of doing it. But getting rid of Billy Donovan tells me everything I need to know about that. They're rebuilding. CP3 to the Bucks. They need to make it happen.
Ooh, what would that pick and roll be like?
Unbelievable. And then don't let Giannis get a pick and don't let it be a pick and pop and Giannis actually improves his jump shot and he can start to make that 15 to 18 foot jump shot. Then
Chris Middleton can be who he's supposed to be in the corner, shooting corner threes like PJ Tucker.
Yeah. And then occasionally can be his own player, in a situation like that. But my thought is he's going to be there. They're going to have to they got to do something though. They have to bring somebody else in there. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They got to bring somebody else in there.
So do you think the process is over?
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. And let me even point this out because I was wrong about it. I said the same thing 3 years ago or 2 years ago with Toronto. I said once the Cavs swept them, and I said that they need to do something different, but I specifically said they need to blow this shit up. They needed to blow up that Raptors team. I was just that convinced. They fired Dwayne Casey. I was like, blow this thing up already. Now, they somehow swindled, and I guess the Spurs, their back was kind of against the wall, but they swindled them and gave him DeMar DeRozan basically straight up. And then they got Danny Green too. They basically gave DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. I don't know how the hell that trade worked out, but it did, and they got their title. And then now they're getting ready to be in a Game 7 with the chance to go back to the NBA Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, and then a chance, to get back to the NBA Finals. So maybe they don't need to blow this thing up, but something does need to change no matter what. And like I said, I'm a big fan of if you can get off that Middleton contract to move on from that. Well, no. We're talking about the Sixers now. The Sixers too, though. Sixers, they need to blow that thing up. Somebody's got to go. One of Ben or Embiid has to go. One of them.
Who do you think goes?
Embiid, to me, has got more value. Even though they're both injury prone, to me, Embiid is more valuable than Ben Simmons. So my thought is if you can find a suitor for Ben Simmons and you can get some decent pieces in return, they're not going to get the Kawhi Leonard type return, but if you can get some decent pieces in return, I'd rather keep Embiid than Simmons.
I'm moving Embiid.
You can get more for Embiid.
Exactly. I can get more for Embiid, and I can turn Philly into Milwaukee light. Hopefully we have better coaching, and I would say a better front office, but we don't have a better front office because
and it's going to start with who they hire as the coach, because Elton Brand looks clueless. But if they can get
Elton Brand got a job 2 years early, and he got the wrong job because they were already in shambles because of they were just stuck with shit Then he tried to double down and turn it into a winner, and it didn't work. And then to save face, he gave Tobias Harris a max, which may be the worst contract in the league. Forget Chris Middleton, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, John Wall. Tobias Harris probably has the worst contract in the league. That man has not sniffed an All-Star game.
Yeah, and he got paid off of being an 18-6 guy, basically, of his career. That's basically who he is. And he's no better than a third option on a team. He'll never be a 2 and you win a final. So he's no better than being a third guy option. And I think obviously that was them backpedaling off of Jimmy wanting out. And what's even crazier? If Jimmy stayed with the Sixers this year, and granted we can't predict, Ben not being hurt for that series against the Celtics.
Doesn't matter. They still win that series.
Well, they're not even the 6th seed with Jimmy. I think they would have won the East this year, in my opinion. Yeah. They would have won the East despite even – and I've never been a fan of Brett Brown or whatever. Despite even his coaching, they would have won the East this year. So –
can I read Tobias' contract numbers to you real quick?
Go ahead. I know it, but go ahead.
Next year, 34. The following year, 35. 22, 37, 23, $39 million. Tobias Harris making $40 million to play basketball.
At best, he's worth half of that. And, we talked about this even with the Hawks when they paid Kent Bazemore. Kent Bazemore was making more money than Julio Jones. I want you to think about that for a second. I know 2 different leagues, but just the schematics of it. Kent Bazemore, who plays for the Sacramento Kings now, I think. He's on his 3rd team since that deal.
Atlanta should have a rule.
Julio Jones, his whole
Atlanta should have a rule. If you are not an all-star or an all-pro, you cannot make more money than Julio, Matt Ryan. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Ice Trae gonna get his bag. We know Ice Trae gonna get his bag because he's the focal point. He's the city. Well, speaking of which, I've been on the we should have kept Ice Trae and not drafted Luka for the longest. Not because I thought Trae was better than Luka. It was because
I first-round pick.
I'm just thinking about, and we got another first-round pick that we'll see what that turns into, right? But I was like, Trae is what the city needs, right? He got the swag. He has the style of play that really works with Atlanta.
Most popular. I think he's only the 2nd player in NCAA history to lead the NCAA in scoring and assists since Pete Maravich.
Yeah, bro, he was 29 and 11. But do you think we should have just kept Luka?
Absolutely. I mean, hindsight's 2020, and we can all play Monday morning quarterback, but it definitely was the wrong move. And I think that Trae is going to be able to come out next year knowing what he just saw in the playoffs. And he's going to play. He played his ass off this year. People forget before this stuff happened, they both were all-star starters. Let's not forget that Trae was top 5 in scoring and assists too. You know what I mean? He was balling his ass off too, but there was no wins to show for it. And Luka does have a good 2 in Porzingis when healthy. That
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Tim Hardaway Jr. was balling his ass off here too. Balled his ass off in New York.
Yeah,
they got pieces that surround him, and they have a great coach in Rick Carlisle. So Lloyd Pierce is an unproven guy, and who knows? After this year, we're going to find out whether or not he's fit for the job, and maybe they need to bring in somebody else. But I'm going to give Trae a little bit more time. Do I think that he's going to have a better career than Luka? No. But Cam Reddish is really the piece of that trade that's going to have to and whoever gets drafted with the other pick those are going to be the guys that are going to prove the trade wrong or not. Because Trae isn't that far from Luka in terms of sheer numbers.
Luka just went to a better situation. People don't want to contextualize it. Dallas.
He plays in the hard conference too, though.
Yeah, but Dallas was a not as bad as they should have been, and because they didn't hit where they should have been hitting, they started to tank. and they made some moves that allowed them to make that draft, to get that draft pick. But let's get to football, man. We got football today. This first question, man. What are our Birds going to do this year?
I think, all right, so there's 3 different scenarios here, of course.
Okay.
There's the best that they can do.
Okay.
So best case scenario, worst case scenario, what I think. Best case scenario, because I like to talk about positive things. I think that they can, if Todd Gurley's healthy and returns to form, the O-line is average. The defense is average with the healthy Keanu Neal, which generally with the healthy Keanu Neal, they're average. Right? They can be an average. And then hell, the 10-6 year, the year after the Super Bowl, they were top 10 in yards. So they were a top 10 defense, technically. Best case scenario, 13-3, 12-4. I absolutely could see that. And I even with Brady, Breeze, Carolina, and then just the gauntlet of the NFC, they could absolutely go 12-4. Who's going to stop that team? If you got a top 3, because Todd Gurley, when healthy, is a top 3 running back in the NFL. Mm-hmm. If you've got a top 3 running back, an MVP quarterback, and the best receiver in the game, and a damn good 2, who the hell is going to stop that shit?
Tom Brady.
Yeah, because he plays defense, right? He's definitely – maybe they'll run up more. I don't think that they will. But you get that with solid O-line play and decent defense, it's going to be really hard to outscore the Falcons. So that's your best case scenario. Worst case –
I sent some money to Vegas on the Birds.
Yeah, well, 60-1. 60-1 for the Super Bowl. $1,000 gets you $60K.
Yeah, I feel a little something.
They're realistic. Worst case scenario, we see a repeat of last year. I don't think that they fall any worse than 7-9, unless there's Matt Ryan breaks his ankle or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you keep, for the most part, everybody's healthy and they just kind of are lethargic. They just, Quinn's Quinn. He's got his Quinnisms where he, is talking about being tough and competing, but they're losing by fucking 13 points or something. 7-9, 6-10 at worst. That is the worst case scenario for these guys. That means injuries were concerns, and they just Quinn's not the guy.
And he gets fired, and I get happy.
Yeah. And I think Dimitroff will be gone too. Even though people don't think that, I think they'll both be gone. I think that they're going to be a part of it together. That I
can see that because Dimitroff has not been great in the draft lately.
No, he hasn't. He's the last good year was the 16 year. Think about it. They had on that Super Bowl team, there were 5 defensive starters that were rookies. And then Vic Beasley was in year 2. So think about that. They had Debo. You have Grady Jarrett was a rookie. You know what I'm saying? Grady Jarrett had fucking 4.5 sacks. Wow. You know what I mean? Against Brady. Hell, he could have maybe won Super Bowl MVP if they hold on.
Yeah, he was eating.
You got Brian Poole, slot corner. You got Keanu Neal. And then you got Devondre Campbell.
I just want to look at the 2015 draft because you talked about Vic, and I can't talk too much about him. We're the same hometown. I don't want to get canceled. But who got drafted after him? Well, Gurley got drafted after.
Yeah, I know. And think about it. But a lot of people were upset about that. And look at how that worked out. You get rid of one and you get the other, even though some people think Gurley's used up. I don't think he's used up.
Hey, guess who else got drafted after him at 18? Marcus Peters. Guess what we haven't had since D. Hall?
A good corner. That's why Trufont's gone. They try to put so much stock into him. You know what? You want to know who was an underrated guy, though? That never got to do, and he tore his Achilles the year we went to the NFC Championship, which is why I never understood why they gave Trufant the contract, because we played the second half of the season without him. But same thing happened in 2012. Brent Grimes. I always liked Brent Grimes.
Why did we not pay him? That was so stupid.
He tore his Achilles in the first game. We played I remember, trust me. 2012, we played the Kansas City Chiefs. We blew them out in the first game. It was like 41-14. Went to the NFC Championship that year, but he didn't play basically the entire year. They didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to do anything. Hell, I would have given him a qualifying or something. I would have tried to keep him. But they didn't pay him. He came back. I forgot. Did he? I don't know if he went straight to Tampa. But either way, he's a Pro Bowler the very next year.
But you know, his wife didn't help. She's very outspoken. She's a media personality.
Yeah, she was a radio. Yeah, she was radio. No, I remember.
So yeah, people don't want to deal with Brent Grimes because of his wife Miko.
Yeah, and so they lost out on that. But then they paid Trufant, who, isn't a terrible corner by any stretch of imagination, but he's not a game changer. And the thing is just, it goes to show, but it goes back to the draft, and they traded up to get Trufant too. And, they go off the pedigree. His brother was a corner. Marcus Trufant was a corner for the Seahawks. And he was never like a Pro Bowler or nothing. But, pedigree, okay, well, you got a brother in the league, Washington guy. Okay, whatever. He never did anything for me. And I know that he's maybe like a 2-time Pro Bowler. And I think a lot of that was because of him just being the best corner on a good team. Yeah, that was a lot of why he got that contract and just this stigma around. He had those 2 picks last season in that Eagles game before it all fell off the tracks. And even though Carson Wentz threw it right to him both times, but and he only had to do the whole year, but he led the team. And so, good luck to him in Detroit. Honestly, good luck to him. But
who wins the division? The South.
I think the Falcons are going to win the division. And like I said, I'm trying not to let my biasness creep in too much because honestly, I'm a realist too. You know what I mean? I really am a realist. I think that we're being so slept on, man. They're so slept on. Yeah. The team is so talented. I know that with us, it's just a lot of what if is all it is. Because the thought is that talent-wise, healthy, we have just as good a roster as anyone in the division. And that's the truth. And so we're just slept on enough to where I think that they're going to be hungry. The way they closed out last season, everybody said they're playing for Quinn, and they went 6-2. They beat San Francisco. San Francisco needed that game. If San Francisco wins that game, that Seahawks game at the end of the season means nothing. They already wrap up the one. The Saints needed that game. You know why? Saints win that game. They're not the 3 seed playing Minnesota. They have a bye if they win that game, a game where they were favored by 14.5. So they won games against teams that needed to win that were 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFC, one being a division rival and then the other being your former coach. And I knew that Quinn, and I bet on them. I won a ton of money that day when they beat the 49ers after that Julio touchdown. But that Matt and Quinn, they wanted to stick it to Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, yeah, because we hate Kyle Shanahan. I want the 49ers to lose every single game because of Kyle Shanahan. I actually rooted for – once they made it to the playoffs, I rooted for them to get to the Super Bowl just to see them lose. Because
they lost in predictable fashion.
Yes, the Shanahan way.
Blowing the lead.
He's not his daddy.
Against a GOAT, because people are already calling Mahomes the GOAT. So, and I know that Brady is the GOAT, but blowing it.
So, do you think Brady's washed? I think Brady and Breeze are both washed.
I do
think
too.
Their arms are hanging on by thread.
No. They don't suck, but I think that everybody is treating them as if they are still the same player when they both have declined each of the last 2 seasons, and it's been kind of obvious.
I remember, and this was before we even played them in the Super Bowl. I was watching Brady versus Osweiler in the playoffs, and I'm like, if the Texans had a quarterback with a pulse, they would win this game.
If Deshaun Watson was their quarterback, even where he was at Clemson, they could have won.
Yeah, because
he might have been a sophomore or a junior.
Brady's not sitting in the pocket for none of that shit. If there's pressure, he's either falling or he's just throwing it away.
And that's their biggest question mark. And that's why everybody's on this Bucs train. They signed Leonard Fournette, a guy that's never been a top 5 running back. He hasn't won anything. He's not a rookie of the year. He hasn't been to a Pro Bowl. He's not all pro. What has he done? You know what I'm saying? What has he done?
I've seen this, though.
Oh, man, they got this running back. What has this dude done?
He caught 70 balls last year.
He had a good year. Okay, so he's an above-average running back is what I look at.
So, for me, though,
You're not great if you're not a Pro Bowler or All-Pro. So, what is he? He's just good. He's above
good. He's a disappointment. But maybe
problem clearly, because think about it. He got cut and cleared waivers, meaning nobody wanted him. Nobody
wanted to guarantee him money.
Obvious situations like Chicago needs a running back. You know what I mean? Obvious situations. Hell, the Jaguars need a running back. Like obvious situations.
The Jaguars brought in Devontae Freeman for a tryout.
Hey, more power to Free, too. Shit, I wish Free nothing but the best. He was great for the 2 years that we really had great Free. He was.
Yeah.
Him and Ted, both of them. I mean, I loved both of them. They were both. They're a large part of the reason we went to the Super Bowl too. They're a big part of the reason why Matt Ryan got MVP. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys helped build that team.
All right, so let's go to the North. You talked about the Bears. I think the Bears are a shit fire. I think the front office should go because they drafted Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson. I would not knock anybody for not drafting Patrick Mahomes.
I get it, and I think with him, he's a example of what Patrick Mahomes is not. He might be 6'3". He's like 6'2.5" or something. Yeah. So he's kind of like, I hate to say it to compare him to somebody in college, but his numbers were eye popping then too. He's kind of like Colt Brennan. And think about it, Colt Brennan broke every fucking college record. Like he broke every fucking record, and
nobody wanted him.
He went to the Redskins in like the 6th round or 7th round, and so Pat Mahomes. I can get that, but definitely, the Deshaun Watson thing, there was no excuse. And they traded up to get him.
And nobody wanted him.
Yeah, nobody.
Like that for me, that's a fireable offense. Like, hey, look, you just traded up.
Oh,
what's up, host?
We're live.
What's happening?
How you living?
I'm living good, man. Just talking a little football, a little AFC North.
Here, I'll let y'all get back to. I don't want to interrupt the cast.
You already did, but it's all good.
But nah, man. So the fact that they traded picks for Nick Foles, who's not starting, they didn't just sign Cam Newton off the street, who may have turned that job down. I just think the Bears are a shit fire, and I'm hearing a lot of Detroit noise though. Like Detroit's going to be back because Matt Stafford's going to be great. Again.
And you know why they think that? So if you remember, Detroit started 2-0-1.
Mm-hmm.
They tied with the Cardinals week 1. Then they won 2 in a row. Then week 4, they played Kansas City and took them kind of to the limit. And then the very next week, they played on Monday Night Football and lost to the Packers on a last-second field goal. So that they're 2-1 there. And then Stafford plays 3 more games, and then he's done for the year. So, and I get it. I like Matt Stafford. I'm a dog guy. You know what I mean? We're Georgia people. Like, we know that Matt's good, but I'm not going to drink that Kool-Aid just yet. I can't get into that. They've got a decent – they're just such an 8-8 team to me. I don't know why. Like they scream 8-8. Their division is hard. Like, it's hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we had 2 playoff teams in that division last year.
I got something for you, though.
2 playoff teams that won playoff games, by the way. Not just 2 playoff teams. 2 teams that won playoff games, And so I don't see them as a real threat to win that division. I think that they're a team that can make noise in a sense of it's never an easy game if you play them, but it's not a team that I see as if things fall the right way, maybe they can get that 7 seed.
I hear you. So I got something in the comments. They took a lead into the 4th quarter in 7 games last year. Do you think with Matt Stafford it looks different? It seems like the guys are rallying around Matt Patricia.
He's galvanized the group.
Because that matters, I think.
He's another Brady assistant too. And I just think that that's a part of it. Like, these guys don't do well in the league. They don't, and it's a proven track record, and it's not to say that they're bad coaches, but they're
great coordinators.
Generally, they're great coordinators, and they're never getting just a good job. Then again, what type of job is generally, I think more in the NFL than the NBA are good jobs open. Because there's a lot of teams that just need a change of scenery to turn that light on. Like the Falcons, we were one of them. We needed a change of scenery after Mike Smith. And I loved Mike Smith. The Mike Smith era was the most fruitful era in Falcons history. Nobody
like the Jim Mora era?
We went to the playoffs twice. No, we went to the playoffs once with Jim Mora. Dan Reeves took us to the Super Bowl and the first year of Vic. Jim Mora didn't really do anything. I mean, he did.
Nah, he asked Michael Vick to be a precision passer.
They went 7-9, 8-8, and then they went 11-5 the NFC Championship year against the Eagles. He didn't really do anything. Mike Smith, first 5 years, winning seasons. The Falcons had never had back-to-back winning seasons. Mike Smith is, here's
the thing, man.
For all intents and purposes, Mike Smith is the best coach in Falcons history.
And I'm not mad at you for saying that. I agree with you. And here's where I get upset in the locker room sometimes when people get to talking, right? Talking about the Falcons franchise. I go, look, guys.
I.e. you and Josh. But go ahead.
I'm like, for one, Josh, shut up. The Eagles have been losers forever.
All he has is that Super Bowl. That's it.
He finally got one. Congratulations. But
and he rubs it in more because we were the hardest game on the path there on the road in a game that we should have won.
Right. But for me, it's like we don't try to make the Falcons out to be some cornerstone franchise.
Yeah.
We are a 7-9, 8-8. Every few years we hit 11-5 or 13-3. You know, we're playoffs one every 3-year franchise. And it's like, look, bro, I'm not like they treat us like we're Cowboys fans.
Right.
Like, no. We know where we stand.
Right. We know our lot in life. And the thing is, though, too, like I said with Mike Smith equals Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan came in at the same time as him. Like I said, first 5 years were all winning seasons. We went to the playoffs 4 out of the first 5 years of Matt Ryan's tenure here. And his last year and that 5th year being an NFC Championship appearance. Not to mention, in those first 5 years, he had 2 13-3 seasons. We went 13-3 in 2010, and we got smoked by Green Bay, but nobody was stopping them that year. That's why Aaron Rodgers has a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Nobody was stopping them. They smoked us. I'll never forget that game. And you know me, I go to, every Falcons game, which is why this Sunday is going to be weird for me because of my entire
life. You gotta watch a game at home. When's the last time you watched a home game at home?
My entire life, Lee, I've gone to football games. And if they don't have fans at all the entire season, this will be the first year of I'm 27, of my entire life that I have not gone to a Falcons football game.
I know we're going to keep circling back to the Falcons because we're Falcons fans and we don't get enough love. Did you see the there's this post that's going around somewhere, and I screenshotted it. That
I think I know what you're going to say. Can I guess it?
If Matt Ryan, guess it.
Okay, well, it probably isn't right, and I was going to bring it up just to see what your guess was going to be, but obviously I'm wearing the Braves hat. The Braves scored 29 points yesterday. They had 29 runs. Some people are saying the Falcons won't score as many points as the Braves did last night. Do you think that that's going to happen? Over under. No, I know, but these are like the top comments on ESPN for the 29-9 thrashing that they gave the Marlins yesterday. That basically, I bet the Falcons don't even score 29 points. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, that's nuts.
I think that they can though. Obviously.
Here it is. It's Matt Ryan needs 3,643 passing yards to surpass Peyton Manning for most passing yards through a player's first 13 seasons. Julio needs 1,151 to pass Jerry Rice for most receiving yards through 10 seasons. And the person who boasted, he said, first ballot Hall of Famers when it's all said and done. Let's argue.
We actually kind of talk about this. To me, Julio's definitely. He's going to be first ballot. it'll be because he's not like T.O.
He didn't piss people off.
Exactly. So his numbers speak for themselves. He, even without the touchdowns, the way that they should be, Julio by far, to me, of this era, is the best wide receiver. And I know Antonio Brown is great too. Julio is the best receiver of the 2010s. And that includes Calvin Johnson. I know he played 5 of those or 4 of those years. At the end of the day, he didn't do a whole decade of it. So Julio
Calvin Johnson, great receiver, Georgia guy, went to Sandy Creek, played against Sandy Creek in high school, got thrashed. Can I tell you something about Calvin Johnson? He was like Devin Booker, okay? Really good, but somebody has to catch the ball.
And always had mediocre quarterbacks up until Matt Stafford. And then he only got the tail end of Matt Stafford was really good. That third year, he threw for 5,000 yards. They went to playoffs that year. But, like, for the most part, he did play with a lot of mediocre quarterbacks. I'll give him that. And
more so mediocre running backs because they don't have 1,000-yard rushers. I think Reggie Bush.
Yeah, and they didn't run the ball. They don't run the ball well at all.
Yeah, no, they've not ran the ball since Barry.
Bell. Amir Abdullah, these were the guys that were running with them, you know? And so I think that Calvin Johnson was special at the end of the day, of course.
Yeah, he was. But I sometimes think he's overrated because he has mass stats on bad teams. NFC West, you think Jimmy Jesus and Kyle Shanahan run it back?
No, absolutely not. I think that they can be a playoff team for sure. You know, they're going to win 9 games. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're not a bad football team, but they could suffer the same fate as the Rams, similar with the coordinators in a sense of McVay, how he went to the Super Bowl, then they went 9-7 but missed out. It could be the same fate for Kyle Shanahan. And I hate Kyle Shanahan too, but I like Kyle Shanahan because Shanahan
is a damn good coach.
He is. His schemes. He is all about spreading the ball. I love that shit. But gets everybody in the right position. It's beautiful. It really is. He deserved his payday. He really did.
Absolutely.
He really did. And I think John Lynch is a good GM though, too. So like they finally have the right people in place there. And so
I think they have the right people in place at every position except for quarterback. And I think their offseason action showed that because they were interested in Tom Brady.
Exactly.
What more do we need?
Nothing, because that tells you everything you need to know. If there's 2 different plays in the Super Bowl that I can remember. One being Emmanuel Sanders at the end of that game. It was the Chiefs were up, I think 24-20. And they had a last-second heave on like a 3rd down. If Jimmy G puts the ball on the money, Emmanuel Sanders is in the end zone. If he makes the throw, he's in the end zone. And we don't know if Kansas City comes down, gets in field goal range, kicks it, or scores a touchdown and just ends the game. But he puts the ball on the money, they definitely go up. Even after blowing the lead, they go up. And so, you know, that's one thing. And then the second thing was towards the end of the second half, if you remember, towards the end of the first half, second quarter, they had like a minute and like 12 seconds, 56 seconds, something between there. And they decided to knee and like run as opposed to trying to put points on the board. And I think the score was 10-10, maybe. I think it was tied at the half. But
yeah, they ran the clock out.
Yeah. And the thing is, they were on like, they weren't at the 20. They were like at like the 28 or something. They had field goal range and they didn't even try. And I just feel like everybody wants to give Matt Ryan a bad rap for not changing out plays. Where's Jimmy G changing out the plays? Where does that come into play?
People talk about the changing out of plays thing, and here's what I've learned, that a lot of people have opinions, but they don't have sources, which is, I mean, it's hard for the average everyday person to get sources. But when you don't have sources, you should listen to people with sources and listen to ex-players, listen to ex-scouts, ex-GMs, people who are understanding the inner workings of what goes on. And you learn that A lot of quarterbacks don't have the ability to change plays the way you think they do. Especially looking at Shanahan's system, like there's so much pre-snap motion that happens in action that you can't really audible the way that you want to because it takes time to actually run the play.
Exactly. And like I said, with the 49ers just as a whole, great defense for sure. They got all the pieces on defense.
Oh, yeah.
And offensively, they have a bevy of running backs. They let go of what's his face is gone now. They got Jarrett McKinnon, who hasn't played in 2 years, but
Georgia State or Georgia Southern product.
Yeah, and former quarterback at Georgia Southern at that. But they got him, and I guess maybe he's going to be the third guy. Who was it that's gone? They got Mostert and Tevin Coleman, but it's another guy that's gone now. He's in Miami. It's I forgot his name. But either way, that's one thing that Kyle Shanahan likes to have is a bunch of guys that can get it. Even in Washington, when he was with RG3, you had Chris Thompson.
Alfred Morris.
Alfred Morris had a hell of a year that first year, too. He's second in rushing.
Yeah,
and there was somebody else, too. But either way, he stays with some running backs. And so,
hey, who do you think wins the division? I'm thinking Russ gets him a division crown this year.
I don't. So that's where I'm going to disagree with you. And I think that we're going to show exactly who they are. I know that this sounds wild because Russ has never had a losing season. I don't think that the Seahawks are going to the playoffs. And so I'll say it. This is my reason behind it. I think Russ is great. Russ is top 3 for sure. Bar none, and there's no debate. He's top 3.
He's the corniest.
He is. He's Mr. Dependable, or what was it? Damn it. Yeah, I think it's Mr. Dependable, or it was something. I forgot what the hell he said. But that's his alter ego. But nonetheless, that team is not that talented, and that's just the real truth of it. They're really not that talented. Chris Carson had a decent year last year, and as a running back, he's a guy that puts the ball on the ground. And maybe that's my hot take of the day. Hot take of the day. I think that at the end of the day, that Seattle isn't going to make the playoffs, and I'm willing to back that. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. I like Pete Carroll. I like Russell Wilson. He can't continue to do it all.
No, they need a new offensive coordinator because Brian Schottenheimer is terrible. This whole
they went from Darren Bevel to him. They went from both of these mediocre, cost them a Super Bowl with Darren Bevel. They went from these, or Darrell Bevel, whatever, Bevel, Coach Bevel. They went from him to Schottenheimer, these mediocre OCs, and it's going to catch up with them, man. It's going to catch up with them. And that defense already isn't – they couldn't stop the run last year. And so, they got Jamal Adams, who should be a presence in the box, but they couldn't stop the run either.
But I don't think he's going to be properly utilized like the Greg Williams, him talking shit. I appreciated that because I really don't think they're going to utilize Jamal Adams properly because they're going to say, hey, three high. Okay, Jamal, yeah, whatever.
My bad, man. My computer's on 5%, so I just need Justin to get my charger.
You good, man. So AFC South, right? And I'm just jumping around in random divisions. I'm not going in any order because we're going to try to get to gambling in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I think the AFC South is very interesting because we got Deshaun, we have Phillip Rivers, and we have the Titans. And I think there's going to be some real contention in that division. I think the division winner is going to come out 9-7, 10-6.
The Jaguars can't even get a mention, huh?
Huh?
Said the Jaguars can't even get a mention, huh?
Quick thing about the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence. I know you're probably not going to hear this, but if anybody in Cartersville is watching this, sees this, and y'all can get in touch with Trevor Lawrence, please tell him to pull an Eli Manning to the Jaguars. Do not go to that shit franchise. You deserve better than that. Even if the rumor is true and they can get Dabo to come on board and Dabo okays it. If Dabo okays it, then sure. But I just think that he's always linked to Bama and taking Saban's job. Yeah, right. That's what he's always linked to. It's he's going to take the Saban job
But when's Saban gonna fucking retire? And we'll get into college football too, I guess, a little bit. But you know,
for me, it's just like, hey, look, bro, don't go to that losing franchise. You deserve better than that. You have the potential to be all-time great, and your ceiling can be capped because you go to a losing franchise who does not try to win. And
right.
You may still put up the numbers. You still may elevate the franchise. I'm not saying that he's not talented enough to do that. It's just that you may elevate them to what? I mean, because they show that they know how to draft.
Championship, right? Right. They've gotten quality players. Miles Jack. Remember, you remember how high people were on Miles Jack? He was out of UCLA. He was running. He was played both sides of the ball. He got drafted as a linebacker. He went in the second round. They were like, his career won't last but 5 or 6 years. They took a chance on him. He's been pretty good. He's still been a really good player. But they always draft, like you said, They drafted Paul Puzlesny. You remember him?
Yeah.
The white linebacker. Him.
They had Justin Blackman who was the head case.
Leonard Fournette, like these guys with talent, and it never results in anything. They blew a lead against the Patriots too. And so
their quarterback, what do you expect?
Nothing less. They
beat that year.
Who? Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they dropped 45 on their head in Heinz Field in frigid cold weather, and they play in a warm climate.
Yeah, Jew. Is that the last time y'all went to the playoffs?
It is.
And y'all didn't win a game, did they?
That's the last memory of the 3 Bs: Bill, Brown, Ben.
So I just can't bet against Deshaun Watson. I can't bet against Bill O'Brien, the coach. I don't like the GM, but the coach, he wins that division.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I actually didn't bet against him.
I think so. So you think Houston's going to win the division?
Yeah, I sent my money in this morning.
Okay, that's fair. I don't. I think the Colts are going to win, and I'll tell you why. Phillip is there for a 1-year trial, basically, because if it doesn't go well, he's going to retire. If it goes well enough to where they get in the playoffs and they win a playoff game, I think he'll consider coming back. They have the pieces kind of in Indianapolis in a sense of the O-line is great. Let's start there. Marlon Mack has outdone all of his expectations. He was really solid for them. And I went to the Falcons played the Colts last year. I went to that game. They have a good team. And Jacoby's a decent backup now, too. Now he's a backup again. And he was a decent quarterback. He really wasn't
a good starter until he got hurt.
Right. And
they were a playoff team until he got hurt.
If Phillip has one last hoorah in him, I mean, they should be able to win 10 or 11 games. And so the defense is decent, too. They got, what's his name, Leonard at linebacker. Yeah, man, he's a fucking stud. I mean, all pro. Think about it. They drafted Quentin Nelson and him the same year. First round pick, second round pick, studs. They're just studs. Like
they have a good front office. I think they have a good coach, a good culture.
Yeah, Hooker, the safety. Man, they got some good players. And they have a good coach. Right. More importantly, they have a good coach.
I just want to see what Phillip's going to do.
Well, right. Is he going to be 20 interception Phillip and basically beat Eli Manning 2.0? Or can he come out of it and, look rejuvenated in a new franchise and a new uniform and kind of be like Carson Palmer with the Cardinals a little bit, which is a lot of people think Brady's going to be that with Arians, but whatever.
So is there any other NFL things you want to hit before we go to a little bit of college and a little bit of gambling?
One more NFL hit. Who's that had the bad take that Cam was going to win MVP for the past? Because we didn't even get to the AFC.
Not like Foxworth said that.
Okay. They're just cutting guys' checks at ESPN these days. I just forget who says this stuff anymore.
You know what, ESPN, you can hire me for 100.
Hell, if you give me some TV time, I'll make the money even outside of it. I mean, you can't not pay me, but hell, give me 50. Shit, give me one day out of the week. I'll spit my nonsense, and we'll see if the takes stick or fucking fall.
I mean, because Cam Newton's not winning MVP. They don't have the tools around him. I bet him comeback player of the year.
They honestly, and I know people still think, okay, maybe they'll win the division. I don't think they're even going to win. I think the Bills are for real. And I know you're not too big on Josh Allen, but
yeah. So, and here's why I'm not big on Josh Allen. I was listening to something last night. I think he's big. I think he's only completed like 6 30-yard passes in his career. I think that his 20-yard passes is 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. It's just contingent upon somebody who has proven to be who he is.
I think that he's just a little reckless, and that playoff game kind of proved they should have beat the Texans last year.
Yeah, they should have.
So, you start talking about that, even that second half opening kickoff, if you remember, it was like a touchback that could have been a touchdown for the Bills, and like it changed the whole momentum of the game a little bit. And then Josh Allen had a play too later in that game where he scrambled and like I forgot if he like threw that shit. Like
he did some dumb shit.
He tried to lateral it or something. But Josh Allen, I like Josh Allen, and I didn't draft him in fantasy in our league this year. I took Baker just because of all the pieces. Plus, I have Chubb and Odell, so
Baker money maker.
He's going to be a part of the reason why both of those guys should succeed. And I like Josh Allen. I think they have a good coach in McDermott. And he proved that as the DC with the Panthers. That's why the Panthers were a playoff team too. Like, I mean, give Ron Rivera credit, but like give him his credit too, because the Bills have completely turned that thing around.
Oh yeah, their defense is nasty.
Yeah, and they don't even. I mean, they got Diggs now at wide receiver, but they don't really. Frank Gore was the running back last year.
Who does he play for now? The Jets.
Yeah, yeah, he plays for the Jets. And there was a rumor that he looks better than Le'Veon Bell.
Well, that's because Adam Gase doesn't like superstars and he wants Le'Veon Bell up out of there.
And do you blame him? I mean, I tell you what, this is from a birdie. You talk about the people I run into. So one of Justice's good friends, Isaac Rochelle, he's the backup defensive end for the Chargers. He plays with Joey Bosa. He's Joey Bosa's backup. Notre Dame captain. Great guy, too, by the way. He's got an outstanding outreach program that he's doing. See You on Sunday and Local Human. They're both really good. Like, I'm proud. I'm a great guy, too. But basically, so him playing for the Chargers, when we were out in L.A., I got to meet, Pouncey. I got to meet a lot of the guys that play for the Chargers. And Pouncey played in Miami with Gase. And that's what they call him. They call him Gase. He just calls him Gase. He didn't call him Coach Gase. He didn't call him Adam. He calls him Gase. And so, like, he said Gase was cool, basically. That he actually was a cool – and think about it. Pouncey's one of those guys that people look at him as kind of trouble a little bit, right? Him and his brother. They played on that Florida team with Aaron Hernandez and Tim Tebow. So he's a part of all that. Urban Meyer. He's a part of all that shit. He said that Gase was a cool dude. He said that Gase – would FaceTime him, all this other shit. But then he said when he ended up getting traded to the Chargers, Gase wouldn't answer no more. So I think Gase is the type of guy probably that when he's with you, he's with you. But when it's time to cut ties, he'll ghost you or whatever. Like he's kind of just not even interested in what it is that you do anymore, regardless of your skill set or whatever. But we'll see what happens with Bill. The Jets are just a shit show. They like the Redskins, are just one of these teams that it doesn't matter what you do. Sam Darnold's overrated too, by the way. He is so overrated.
Yeah. I think he has upside, but he just doesn't have enough snaps at quarterback, and he's going to wash out before he gets the chance to prove
it. When it was Monday Night Football and Booger and them, heard him saying that he was seeing ghosts, I said, oh, no, this guy's not going to make it. Even if I think they said he had a concussion, but still, it was just like, that was bad, man. That was bad.
Hey, so look, college football is looking crazy this year. The progressive Pac-12 is not playing. The Big Ten has been pretty much told to play no matter what they want to do. And I've been seeing people talking about the Heisman. I'm like, they're still going to give out a Heisman this year?
They're going to still give out a Heisman and a national champion.
I'm going to bet Georgia the Natty. Like, the only reason I didn't bet it today is because I got a call to play 2K right before we started pod, and so I just, you can't play 2K and bet at the same time.
Exactly. I think that you're spot on with it, even though I felt a lot more comfortable with Jamie Newman, and not because I saw Jamie Newman play with Wake Forest. I'm a guy that looks at the stats too, and then just the fit and how it would have been a dynamic offense, something that Georgia hadn't had with Fromm. Even the national championship year, they weren't really dynamic. He was just a really good game manager, but they had a two-headed monster in Michelle and Chubb. So, those were arguably the two best running backs in college football that season on one team. And I like Kirby as a coach too, but
I like Kirby too.
I don't know with JT Daniels, which I don't even know if he's going to start game one. I think it might be DeJuan Mathis. I don't even know who's going to start game one. So with Georgia, we know that they're going to win 10, 11 games. That's never the problem. Mark Richt was doing that. You know what I mean? So we don't know what's going to happen. If I had to put my money on anybody, it would probably be Clemson, honestly. But I think that's just an easy answer because I know that they're going to run through the ACC and no Ohio State, which that would have been my – well, if Jamie Newman was playing, it would have been Georgia, Ohio State.
Because that's the thing that – to beat Saban, you have to have a dynamic quarterback.
Yes.
And I'm a JT Daniels fan. That's only because I got the chance to meet his coaches back when he was at Mater Dei.
Yeah.
They came to a camp for this. They came to this camp for this team that I was coaching for. So I just got to meet him, talk to him, stuff like that. So that's just my personal, I met this kid. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah.
Well, injury history, obviously his high school credentials stack up with winning. You know what I'm saying? Being the top pocket passer of his year. But, it's going to be a big question mark with college football. Honestly, I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to finish the season than anyone.
Absolutely, because they have schools that who make decisions, not millionaires. They have parents who are involved. They have conferences who are going to make decisions who care about optics, unlike the billionaires do. And I'll tell you, as we transition into gambling, man, after that Navy BYU game, I'm afraid to bet college because I don't know how these kids are practicing. I don't know if you saw that Temple postponed the game because they want to get more practice in or some shit.
And let's just not forget, we were 18-21 at one point, and it's going to be hard for them to just not be around people. And what I'm saying, to not party at all, even without nobody on campus, what you can find a party. What's going to stop them from not going out one night? I don't see that happening. And then across the board, and all it takes is one person, then a team gets it. Then if the team plays the team and nobody tested positive, but they have it, or they had it, you know what I mean? It comes within. Yeah. And that's going to shut that down. So it's going to be, I'm surprised that they are playing. I agreed with trying to do it simply for one reason and one reason only, and not because of the money. They want to play. So to me, that was a big decision. Is if they want to play and they want to play, I guess that's where their discipline is going to come in. Are they going to stay away from everybody? And I just, with the pros, I know these guys know it's business, and married or not married, even the hoes that they have, they're gonna keep them bitches on the side. They're gonna have it to where they're the women, they're gonna be able to here you go. They're gonna be able to get them quarantined. You know what I'm saying? To where if they
I'm not worried about the pros. And my thing about the college thing is, I'm not going to sit here and say money doesn't have anything to do with where I'm at with. I'm saying, hey, look, if they want to play,
let them play.
Let them play. And because of the money, because of what it does for the economies of a lot of these college towns, the economies of the college themselves, if the kids want to play, hey, give them the opt-out opportunity. Right. Tell them, hey, look, you don't have to play another down here, but you can still finish your degree because of this right here. We'll never put that pressure on you. Give them a little bit of insurance money, a little liability if they do. if they do play. Nothing crazy, just a little something. After that, let's play because Athens needs money. And guess what? There's gonna be fans in the stands, and if people want to go watch those games,
Tuscaloosa needs money. What Nick Saban's the highest paid state official in Alabama. Are they not going to pay him if they don't have a season? I think his contract probably says no. You're going to pay me no matter what. And so, they can't not recoup that money. And I'm looking at a state. Think of that's a state. Georgia at least. We
have Atlanta. We have a skyline.
Well, and we missed out on the Final Four even this year, right? That was going to be in Atlanta, and that was going to bring tons of revenue and profit, to the city and the state.
Do you remember Final Four 2013?
Yeah.
You talk about a great weekend.
I'll give you one too. I remember Final Four 07.
Well, I'm talking about when we were old enough to party and do shit.
No, I know, but I'm even just saying I remember when Florida won it all here with Al Horford and Joakim Noah.
So let's get into the last gambling topic.
Greg Oden and fucking Mike Conley. Go ahead.
Mike Conley, so overrated. But anyways, so I've recently gotten back into gambling. I took a long hiatus after one of those websites locked me out of my account, and no one answered the phone. But let's talk strategy. How do you bet? Because you are the best gambler that I know personally. You have a wild strategy from its appearance, but it works. Let's talk about it.
High risk, high reward. And let me give a disclaimer too for anybody that ends up, that's watching. Do not bet money that you don't have. And that is like the biggest thing that I can't stress to anybody. People can look at me, and anyone that knows my personal winnings, I don't flaunt it because it's not something I've ever put on Instagram. I share it with my friends, of course, but that's because we're all generally interested / betting on the games anyways. Don't bet money that you don't have. And betting money that you don't have is going to end up putting you in a situation that you don't want to be in. And you're going to be upset not only at yourself, you're going to be upset at everybody. And that's just not good for anyone. And so my suggestion is if you don't have the money to play, then don't play. Break. That's this nigga Jordan and the fucking thing. But no.
Great disclaimer, though. It's serious.
But seriously, the method that I use for gambling is of high risk and high reward. I'm the type of person that sternly believes in everything that I think about sports. And granted, I don't always win. I lose too. Actually, I lose more than I win. But the dollar amounts that I win versus the dollar amounts that I lose, they're not the same. I win more money than I do lose money, but I also lose more bets than I win bets. And so you got to be locked in on what it is that you're trying to do when it comes to betting on sports specifically. If you don't know shit about it, don't bet on it. You know what I mean? You can get lucky if you want to, but if you don't know shit about it, don't fucking bet on it. Don't put your money on something that you don't know anything about. And so, for instance, with the pandemic, baseball has been prominent. Even, they came on before the NBA, and I just couldn't wait. I just could not wait. I was so ready to put some money on some live action that it wasn't even funny. And so if you're going to bet money on, and I know enough about baseball, but I'm not a religious follower like with football and basketball. Give it some time, learn it, understand it, see it, know who's who. And even though we all know upsets happen and teams that are supposed to win don't always win, learn it, watch it a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Understand your opponent. Your opponent is that bet sheet, that parlay. Understand that shit. And then when it comes to strategy in terms of betting, like on even what you do think you know, the NBA, NFL, or whatever it is that you think you know, I'm of a high belief that if I believe a team is definitely going to win, money line all the time. Or spread, if I'm that big of a believer. Spread. Give me the cover. They're going to cover. I try to stay away from over-unders for the most part. I'll get in on some of them. but I don't really like doing over-unders. I like to do alternative spreads. And we spoke about it before we got on here, but you look at game one of the Houston Rockets and OKC Thunder and Miami Heat and Milwaukee Bucks. The thought was, okay, Houston and Milwaukee are going to win game one. That day, I took plus 9.5 on OKC and plus 9.5 on the Heat. Both of them ended up hitting. You know what I mean? Both of them ended up hitting. Now, I lost the parlay because of baseball, like other shit. But bet on something that makes sense. If plus 9.5, if you think that OKC is close enough to where they won't lose by double digits, but even if you think that the Houston's going to win, why not just take the points on OKC at plus 9.5 if they're the same odds? Why bet on Houston straight up when there could be an upset?
And that's the thing, man. Like, I've started playing around with some of the alternative lines myself because it's become like, hold on. I think you're gonna win by blowout. So why should I just take these money line odds or even these spread odds when I feel like today's a statement game?
Well, there's that, and right, and game one's always set the tone for series, and that's why if you look at both of those games specifically, the team that won game one ended up winning the series, and that doesn't always happen. But at the same time, Miami set the tone with Milwaukee, and they said, "Game two, pressure's on you. No matter what, it don't matter what we do. Game two, pressure's on you because if you go down 0-2, we got you, and we know that we do because you got to win 4 out of 5."
And another
like the Thunder
I'm in love with?
Go ahead.
Betting the margin of victory. Because you get such a good number from 1 to 2 points to like 10 points. You go $10 on each. Yeah, you're hedging. Some people don't believe in hedging, but in certain places, like, you're stupid not to hedge. If the number's that good, it's like, hold on. Either way, I might dish out $40 here, but at the least I'm going to make 60. So
yeah,
it's free money.
Exactly. And I hedged the last 2 days. Ended up hitting both of those parlays, but I hedged the last 2 days because I said, okay, it's down to one game. This is what I need. And we were talking about this yesterday with Denver, and I said the 18.5. And granted, that wasn't the only thing I needed, but the Giants were up like 9-0. And then the Dodgers game, Diamondbacks were tied 4-4. And I needed the Diamondbacks plus 4.5. So the Dodgers are going to win by 5 runs. I didn't think that was going to happen. But the Clippers and Nuggets game, they were up 13. So for me, I'm like, it's realistic that they'll win by 19 points and my parlay's over. I had to put a ton of money on, not only because the odds were great, even if I lost, I still was going to win money. Like, they were like plus 325 to win by 19 points. But to me, it was worth even putting the money up against it with the amount of money that I had a chance to win. You hedge. If it is not solidified and you want to win some money, you're going to hedge no matter what.
Yeah.
Lose out on the big money that you got with the little bit of money that you bet, as opposed to just losing out altogether, and you could have won, you still would have been a winner.
And I'll tell you, I fucked myself on, what was that, Monday when Navy played? Because I should have hedged. I should have ran all the same parlays, right? And just interchanged Navy and BYU and all of them, right?
Or did the alternative spread. Even if you did, okay, I'm taking Navy straight up. Let me get BYU plus 7.5. Like, I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, let me just put them in there to where, okay, I can hit both, because even if Navy wins, let's say that they don't win by a touchdown, now you hit both. Like, you know what I mean?
And with the parlay that I made, I can't remember what it was, but I had 2 of the NBA games, cover spreads plus the over unders. Everything hit. The Navy BYU over under hit, right? I hit the over, and I just didn't hit Navy, and that was like turning 10 to 500. You know what I'm saying? Like 20 to 600. I was like, bro, I just left so much money on the table just by not hedging.
Yeah, and that can always be a killer with the gambling. And obviously,
Joel just gave us flames. Hi, Joel.
Oh, Joel's tuned in.
Yeah, he's watching.
How are you doing, Boink Daddy? Is Zoe there too?
Tell Zoe said hello. She should watch the whole show. It'll be on YouTube shortly.
Yeah, and I'm sure Lee's gonna put up some clips. But nonetheless, look, gambling, it's not for everybody. You got Justice trying to creep. You might as well get in here too.
Yeah, like we're at an hour 40. We're about to close it out, so
Yeah, this guy. But no, that's not what he's saying. Nonetheless, just seriously, disclaimer for anyone that wants to gamble, you can make plenty of money doing this. You really can. And I hate to sound like somebody that's trying to sell Forex to somebody, but you've got a better chance of winning money doing this than that. And I've never done it, but the fact that people are trying to would never try and get anyone to gamble. That'd be like me trying to get them to try a drug or something. Why would I get anyone to try a drug? I wouldn't, because it can be a drug in reality. Yeah. Gambling can be a drug. Gambling addiction is real.
And the adrenaline rush that you get, like when you're
when you
hit, it feels great.
Oh, you're on top of the world. You've already spent the money.
Like yesterday, I turned like 100 into like 5 the other day. I drank good whiskey. I was like, we fucking hit today, baby. It's a great fucking day at the office. I gotta celebrate.
That's dinner for two. You know what I mean? Plus tip at a great restaurant. You can splurge a little. You know what I mean? Like,
but it has to be play money.
Let's say that you were going out of town or something. Let me not just get that Deluxe King. Let's upgrade a little bit. Let's get it with the ocean view or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? That stuff, it happens. And so, and then that's another thing too. If you know for a fact that you're going to continue to gamble, first of all, don't pull out all your money.
Hell no, because Bovada's going to tax your ass.
Yeah. Well, they don't even, you don't know who really taxes with Bovada. It's more so when I move it to my Coinbase. I lose like, and Bovada gets their little cut too, but like, all right, just an example. I'm not saying that this happened for me, but if you pull out $20,000, it'll get to your Coinbase wallet and it'll be 19,800 something. Then you'll pull it from your Coinbase to your PayPal, and then it's a $200 fee there, $250 fee. Then you pull it from there, and not to mention, because it's Bitcoin's a stock, so it's going up and down. So you could lose money if you don't pull it out immediately. In reality, if you let it sit for an hour, that stock could change. It could go up 3%. It could go down 15%. I mean, anything can happen between then and the moment the money hits. And then you move it to your pay. Well, for me, I move it to the cash, and then I move it to PayPal. And then from PayPal takes a fee too. If you want the deposit immediately and you want to see it, it's like a $10 fee. But you can definitely lose money just even in the transfer portal. But point being, if you're going to continue to gamble, don't pull it all out just to use your card or add it back to Bitcoin, because you're just going to lose money that way too, like redepositing. So keep your money.
I look at it like a long-term investment that you treat like day trading. You're going in there every day and you're making your decisions. But you're not making this money to go spend in 2 weeks. It's like, no. Like, this is, you let your gambling money grow.
Let it grow. And then a suggestion too for anybody, you hit, I don't know, let's say you bet 100, you won 1,000. 500 of that stored away. You're a winner no matter what happens. Mm-hmm. Even if you lose the other 500. Store that, well, plus your 100 back. So 600. What you bet plus half the winnings at least. You're a winner. Now, use that 500 and make it again.
And so that's kind of what my mom taught me about gambling, like going to Vegas. Like when you go and you hit,
at least half that money needs to get put away.
Yeah, you like once you get back to what you came with, plus whatever your goal is, you store that away so you don't go home losing, or you don't go home losing anything more than you plan to lose, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, then you just bet whatever winnings you make over that, so that you're still a winner.
Well, and I would say even too, because if you if you go with $1,000 and you're okay with losing $1,000, but you hit with $100 and you win 1,000, don't even. I mean, do you want to be a winner or a loser no matter what? Sometimes it's worth the risk, but people will chase them own selves in a situation like that, where if you bet $100, you win 1,000. You put away the 500, you lose the 500 that you have remaining. Then you're like, well, I'm still a winner. Let me just take half from my actual winnings where I'm up. Then you'll lose that. And then you'll chase it. And then you'll get back down to where you're even. And then you're like, well, I was already okay with losing 1,000. Let me bet it again. Then lose that. And then be like, damn, let me try and get my money back. And then you start digging yourself in this fucking you know what I mean? It's a hole that you can't get to the center of the earth. Like, you know, you're going to continue to lose. And so
there's a reason why Vegas is rich.
Exactly. There's a reason
they're going to win
why they're in business.
Speaking of which, I think this is a great place for us to close this out. I got a couple things for you about Vegas when we sign off. Anything else you want to give the listeners? Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate you, dog.
Well, I appreciate you having me. And, you know, I'm always open, especially, and obviously, you know, I'm a multi-dimensional person. I can do more than sports and gambling, but specifically these two different topics I always love doing. And like I said, you know, coming into this, it's a privilege. It really is a privilege to do this. I love your podcast. Obviously, I'm subscribed on Spotify, and anyone that isn't should be. It's a great podcast. Big Baby the GOAT, aka Adam Lee, always is giving good content, and he's getting qualified guests to talk about whatever it is that he wants to talk about. And I don't see why you don't subscribe if you're not already.
Hey, man, thanks. I'm going to try to eventually get a locker room pod going.
Oh, man.
I just actually want to do it when we
I
do
don't want to look like a fucking food fight in middle school, though, with everybody.
I want to do it like when we're in the same room, and I'll like bring out my other cameras, and it actually becomes like an event.
Yeah. There's definitely enough personality for everybody that tunes in could definitely pick a side and legitimately be like, I agree with that person more.
Yeah, I want Josh Jr. to say that everything is stupid because Josh doesn't feel like using his words sometimes.
Yeah, well, and then you want Jew there too, because Jew represents a small portion of people in the world. So,
absolutely, and Joel with his sage wisdom. Well,
right, Joel's the voice of reason. You know, that's why he's the commissioner that somehow got the first pick. But yeah.
Yeah, I call shenanigans. But look, man, thanks so much, Pie. I appreciate you, dog. This has been great. Big Baby, yeah!